Hello mga mahal! Welcome back to my learning channel. This is one of tutorials where you can level up your math skills with me, Miss B. Hello, hello! Nagbabalik na naman po ang inyong resident math teacher na tutulungan kayo para mas maintindihan niyo po ang inyong lesson sa math. So yes, as usual, please like this video kung totoong na-like nyo naman siya talaga. And kung hindi pa kayo subscribe, please subscribe to my channel. This is my learning channel. Dito po ako nagtuturo ng various subjects, supposedly. Pero recently, puro math lang ang ginagawa natin. Pero if meron kayong mga questions about other subjects, pwede rin naman. So, ilagay nyo lang yan sa ating comment section down below. Okay? So, anong lesson natin for the week? Ang ating lesson po ay Interpreting Measures of Possession. Siyempre, meron tayong Ariana Grande from Possessions music video. So, for the past 2 weeks, ang inaaral natin ay kung paano mag-calculate ng measures of possession. Now, since we're talking about statistics here, it's not enough that you know the data. It's also equally important to interpret this data and to make it and to turn it into useful information. So, yun ang gagawin natin today. Okay? So, this week, ang ating objectives ay to solve for the percentile rank and to interpret the meaning of a specific percentile rank and measure of possession. Ito po ay in line sa ating most essential learning competency of the week. Nag-iisa lang naman siya for this week at yan ay to interpret measures of possession. Okay, so mag-review lang tayo ng very, very light. Ano ba yung inaral natin for the past 2 weeks? We have been talking about the measures of possession. There are 3. Specifically, we have quartiles, deciles, at percentiles. Now, these measures can be expressed using the other. So, ang quartiles po, they divide our dataset into 4 equal parts. Si deciles, they divide it into 10 equal parts. And then si percentiles, divide it into 100 equal parts. Now, as I said earlier, ang mga measures na ito ay actually pwede mong i-express using the other. So, for example, si D5 or the 5th decile, we can also call it the 2nd quartile and we can also call it the 50th percentile. So, pare-pareho lang yung mga yan. Okay? Now, paano ba natin i-interpret ang ibig sabihin ng measure of possession na yan? So, measures of possession give a range where a certain percentage of data fall. The PN percentile is a measurement such that after the data is ordered from smallest to biggest, so as you can see, it's very important na ilalagay natin i-order natin ang ating data from smallest to biggest. At most, P% of the data are less than or equal to this value. So you might be wondering, like this meme over here, kung ano sabihin nito, ma'am? Parang ang wordy naman niya. Hindi ko malunok. So, ang ibig lang nitong sabihin ay if you get the specific measure of possession, yan po yung percentage ng data wherein the scores will be less than or equal to that specific value. So, I'll give a solid example para mas maintindihan nyo talaga. So, if the 35th percentile, pasensya na po sa ingay, is 20, this means that 35%, dahil 35th percentile, of the population has a score that is less than or equal to 20. Okay? Naiintindihan po ba? Ganun siya. So, kapag sinabi natin 35th percentile, yung score na yan, okay, it is, or the rest of the data, okay, has a score that is less than or equal to that specific score. Now, let's have a solid example. Given data, this data set, meron tayong 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15, 16, 17, 18, 18, 19, 20. Okay? At ang D4 daw ay nasa 13. So, the 4th decile is 13. So, ito yon. How many students belong to the 4th decile? So, sometimes, you can encounter problems like this na ilang data set meron under that specific measure of possession. Like this one. How many students belong to the 4th decile? So, again, ibig sabihin yan is less than or equal to that specific number. So, since it should be less than or equal to 13, it's this entire data set here. Okay? So, yan yung ating 4th decile. To answer the question, there are 4 students belonging to the 4th decile. Okay? Pero kapag ang tinatanong lang is where or what is the specific value for the 4th decile, isa lang yung sasagot natin dyan, yung score. Okay? But there are questions such as this, na ilan ng students or ilang scores belong to that specific measure of position. So now we know how to answer it. This is for ungroup data. Okay? Now to recall, ang quartiles natin, si Q1, si Q2, si Q3, meron din silang mga other names. Okay? So si Q1, ang ating first quartile, ang isa pang tawag sa kanya ay lower quartile. Kasi siya yung nandun sa 25% of the data. And then si Q3 or si third quartile, siya yung tinatawag natin ng upper quartile. Siya naman yung 75% of the scores are less than or equal to this specific score. Okay? Now let's have this example. Given the weight of grade 10 students in kilogram at the beginning of the school year, so at the beginning of the school year, ito yung kanilang mga weight in kilos. Find the lower and the upper quartile of the data and then interpret the result. So, syempre, magsusolve muna tayo. Ang first step natin is to arrange our data from smallest to biggest or in ascending order. I've done that for you already. Now, what we're going to do is to calculate for your Q1 and your Q3. How do we do that? First, of course, we have to find the position of our Q1. How do we do that? 1/4 of n plus 1. At ang n natin ay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so this is essentially 12 over 4. We're looking for the third value. Now, as you can see, whole number siya. Ano yung usapan natin before? If for the position you get a whole number, you can safely use the M&S method. Okay? So, nasan yung third value natin? Ito, si 38. So, that means ang ating first quartile is 38 kilograms. Parang hindi siya masyado makita kung green. Okay. Meron kasi mga numbers dito no? So, sulatan na lang natin siya dito. Q1. There you go. Alright. Next, we're looking for the third quartile or the upper quartile. So, that's 3/4 of 12. And that will give you 3 times 3. We're looking for the 9th. So, alin dito ang 9th? Yan ang 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Ito siya. So, that means yan ang value ng ating Q3. So, paano ba natin to i-interpret? Ano ibig sabihin nito? Okay? So, for the interpretation, 75% of grade 10 students had a weight less than or equal to 55 kilograms. So, ibig sabihin, 75% or 3/4 of the grade 10 students at the start of the year had a weight less than or equal to 55 kilos. Okay? And then, 25% of the grade 10 students had a weight less than or equal to 38 kilograms. Ibig sabihin, maliit na porsyento or yung lower quartile, 25%, ang may weight that is less than or equal to 38 kilograms. Okay? So, mag-move on naman tayo sa percentile rank. Ano ba tong percentile rank? Ang pinagkaiba lang po niya is babaguhin lang natin yung point of comparison. So, instead of saying that for percentile, let's say for percentile, ano yung kanina? 75% of the grade 10 students had a weight less than or equal to 55 kilograms. Dito, ang gagawin nating term is greater than or equal to. So, kapag sinabi natin that Joe's percentile rank is 80, then she has a score that is higher than 80% of the class. Okay? So, ganun siyang kagaling. Mas mataas siya kaysa sa 80% of the class. And then, if Kitty's percentile rank is 15, then she has a score that's higher than 15% of the class. Okay? So, yun lang yun. Binago lang natin yung point of comparison natin or yung phrasing natin. Instead of saying less than or equal to, we use the phrase greater than or more than. So, how do we calculate for the percentile rank? Ito po yung ating formula. So, sabihin natin na si Marie ay kasama dun sa mga grade 10 na kinuha na ng weight kanina. Her weight is 48 kilograms. Ano ngayon yung percentile rank niya? So, in order for us to get it, the percentile rank of 48 is the number of values below x. So, hanapin natin si 48. Ito siya. So, how many values are there that is below 48? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, you have 6. Tapos, dadagdagan daw natin siya ng 0.5 divided by our n. Ang n natin ay 11. And then, we're gonna multiply that to 100%. Okay? So, if we're going to use our trusty calculator, 6.5 divided by 11 times 100, you get roughly 59%. So, we need to round it off to the closest integer. Okay? So, what does this mean? Ano ibig sabihin nito? What is the interpretation of this data that we had? Ang percentile rank ni Marie ay 59%. Sorry. Ibig nitong sabihin, she is heavier than 59% of her classmates. Okay? Now, paano natin gagamitin itong data na to? How do we make this data useful? So, syempre, hindi lang naman porket may data tayo in-interpret natin na mas mabigat si Marie kesa sa 59% of her classmates, titigil na tayo doon. We will look into it. Okay? So, according to research, if the weight of the average 15-year-old Filipino kid is 43 kilograms, what can we conclude regarding Marie's weight? So, kung ang average po ay 43 kilograms at 48 kilograms si Marie, so, she is slightly above the average weight of a 15-year-old. Okay? So, hindi natin sinasabing overweight siya. She's just slightly above it. Okay? So, what are some factors affecting her weight? Pwedeng dahil pandemic, nagkaroon siya ng sedentary lifestyle. Pwedeng dahil pandemic, nag-stress eating siya kasi nasa-stress siya sa modules. So, maraming mga factors na pwedeng maka-affect sa kanyang weight. Pwede namang may sakit siya. Malay natin, meron siyang PCOS or meron siyang hormonal imbalance. That's why her weight is higher than the average 15-year-old. Pwede rin naman na mas dense yung bones niya. That's why she's heavier. So, there's a lot of factors that are involved. So, what can we recommend to Marie? Well, it depends on kung ano talaga yung underlying reason. Kung siya ay may hormonal imbalance, then maybe pwede nating i-recommend sa kanya na, maybe you should get checked. Kasi, medyo slightly above average. Kasi kung siya naman ay healthy, 'di ba? Wala naman tayong masasabi about her weight. It's just as comparison with the average weight of 15-year-olds. So if the doctor cleared her as healthy at wala naman siyang problema, then wala tayong pwedeng i-recommend sa kanya. Siguro just continue kung ano man yung ginagawa niya sa ngayon. Okay? So ganun natin nagiging meaningful yung data na binigay sa atin. Okay? Alright, so let's look at our last example for the day. So, grade 10 Ruby had the following scores for their summative test in math. So, ito, as you can see, naka-arrange na siya from smallest score to biggest score. So, anong gagawin natin dito? Siyempre, unahin muna natin ang n. Ilan ang ating n? So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Our n is 14. Okay, tandaan. Now, si Jody daw belongs to the 8th decile of this class. What is her percentile rank? And what is her score? So first, hindi na natin kailangang mag-calculate for the percentile rank kasi we already know which measure of position, she belongs to. So since she belongs to the 8th decile, or her score is at the 8th decile, then the 8th decile is just the 80th percentile. So, that means ang percentile rank po ni Jody ay 80. Okay? Now, how do we find her score? Dito na tayo magsosolve. Okay? So, ang hinahanap natin ay D8 or the 8th decile. That's 8 over 10 times yung ating n plus 1. So, ang n natin ay 14. This is going to be 15. Okay? So, in order for us to solve, this is just going to be 8 times 15 over 10 ito ay magiging 3, 2, magka-cancel lang yan. We are looking for the 12th position. So again, it is a whole number or it is an integer. So M&S method na lang yung gagamitin natin. So we're going to be looking at the 12th value. So 3, 6, 9, 12. So the 12th value is 18. Therefore, Jody's score is 18 over 20. Sabihin na natin over 20 yung summative test nila. Okay? So that's her score, 18. Sige, huwag na lang natin, hindi naman kasi sinabi kung over ilan, di ba? So, huwag na natin i-assume. Ang kanyang score ay 18. Okay? So, next up we have Franco, who belongs to the same class. His score is 16. Now, what is his percentile rank? We're going to find out using this formula. So, nasa ng 16? Ito. And we're going to find the number of values below 16. So, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, ang percentile rank niya, that's going to be 8 plus 0.5 divided by n, which is 14, times 100%. Now, using our trusty calculator, that's 8.5 divided by 14. Bakit siya naging 5.5? 8.5 divided by 14 times 100. So, it's roughly 61%. So, that means ang percentile rank ni Franco ay 61. Or, his score is higher than 61% of his class. Now, how do we use this pertinent information? Or how do we answer several questions if we have this type of information? I have here some follow-up questions. Franco kept comparing his scores with the rest of the class and kept boasting about his score, all the while teasing the people who got lower scores than him. What can you say about Franco? So, ito yung mga questions na gusto kong pag-isipan nyo. You don't have to answer it right now. You can write the answer at the comments down below. Or just think about it. If you have someone like Franco, okay, what can you say about his behavior? Okay, let's not judge Franco as a person, but let's talk about his behavior. Bakit kaya ganito yung behavior ni Franco? Okay, you can put your answers on the comment section down below. And then an additional question is, si Jody, in contrast, is quietly happy about her score. We all know that she's in the 80th percentile, right? So technically, she got a score that's higher than Franco. But she acts differently. She is quietly happy about her score. However, she notices Franco and she wants to talk to him about his attitude. So if you were Jody, what will you tell Franco? Okay? So again, ilagay nyo lang po yung answers nyo dun sa ating comment section down below. Alright. So yun lang ang ating lesson. So paano ba natin, i-recap lang natin. Remember that information is only relevant if or data is only relevant if we know how to interpret it and analyze it. And we know how to make it into something useful for everyone. Okay? Like in your research, science research, for those of you who are in grade 10, alam kong kayo ay nagmi-mini thesis na and you are supposed to collect data. Now, the purpose of your research is to use that data that you got, to interpret the data that you got, and to use it to make useful information for everyone that can benefit people. Yun yung purpose of your research, diba? You are using this information that you have, the data that you collected, to create something meaningful. So, what else can we use this information for? Bakit mahalaga na i-interpret ang data? This is important for teachers. Halimbawa, alam namin ng mga teachers na if there is a certain percentage of students na mababa kaysa sa failing grade. Sabihin na natin na ang failing grade sa isang over 20 na ang passing score pala. Let's say ang passing score is 13 over 20. If the percentage of students, let's say that the percentage of students that have a grade that's equal to or lower than 13 is about 70%. That's a lot. What does that mean? Ibig sabihin, hindi natuto yung mga bata. Kailangan i-reteach ni teacher yung lesson. Baka kasi masyadong mahirap. Hindi nila naiintindihan. Marami silang mali. Marami bumagsak doon sa test. Okay, so this type of information is useful for teachers. How about for doctors? Kapag sinabi natin na ang recoveries in a day, okay, is at the percentile rank of 80, that's high. Ibig sabihin, we have a lot of recoveries in a day for COVID. So that's good news, diba? Maraming nakaka-recover sa hospitals. How about for engineering? Kung kayo ay mag-STEM in your senior high school. Now, halimbawa, sinabi natin na itong produkto na ito is at the 90th percentile when it comes to quality. That means it has good quality. Very good quality ang material na to. Ito kukuhanin mo. Kasi nasa 90th percentile siya. Okay? When it comes to quality. So these are the things, these are direct applications kung bakit we need measures of position. There is direct comparison with the rest of the population or for the rest of your data set. It will be very useful information for you to compare. Okay? The scores. Para you have information that can help you decide on certain things. So, yan po ang ating direct applications. I hope may natutunan kayo sa ating very short lesson lang this week. If you have other questions, clarifications, violent reactions, emotional breakdowns, ilagay nyo lang po yan sa ating comment section down below. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat and I'll see you guys next time. Paalam!